Hey guys, what's up, how's it going? Welcome back for another video. My name is Robin. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a complete unreveal of my entire portfolio. This is a growth-based, dividend growth-based, as well as a high-yield stock portfolio. So we have a nice big mixture of everything inside my stock portfolio. That's going to be on Wealthsimple Trade. So we'll do a deep dive in today's video. I'll show you guys what stocks I bought for this week. I'll give you guys my plans for 2023, as well as show you guys all the different dividends I've been earning inside my portfolio. So stay tuned for that. Now, before we go any further video, I just want to do a quick little mention. If you guys want to see my entire stock portfolio, since this video really is a portfolio reveal, if you guys want to see my entire stock portfolio at any point in time, check out the link in the description of this video. That'll go to Blossom Social. You guys can sign up to an account. You can look me up on Blossom Social, and at any time you guys want, you can actually see my entire stock portfolio completely for free, 100% transparency, just in case if you guys want to do a deeper dive on your own. All right, let's jump inside the portfolio and let's see how our stock portfolio is doing today. So the first part of the video we're going to be doing is the portfolio update like usual. I'll give you guys a quick little recap on all of our accounts and how things are going inside all of our portfolios. We'll start with the Wealthsimple Trade portfolio since it's the main one I've been doing on this channel. Quick little recap in the markets on my watch list here. I kind of have our big ETFs so we can kind of see what's going on with the market. So VFE, the S&P 500 is kind of down. Looks like we're sitting at about 0 today. VDY, a little bit of a gain in the market. And then we have our covered call here, covered call ETFs. Just kind of ignore those because those are kind of like doing their own thing. But the two ones I like to kind of watch are VFE and VDY. So you can see the Canadian markets have jumped up a little bit today, while VFE is sitting at about neutral, I guess. But the funny thing is, the past couple of days we've seen quite a bit of gain in the market, so we'll have to kind of watch towards the end of the day because things have been a little bit interesting. And if you take a peek at my portfolio, we have $113,586. So there's been a bit of a jump in our portfolio, and two reasons for that. Number one, the market has gone up over the past week or two, and also I put some pretty big deposits inside my portfolio, so we will cover that later on in the video. First thing here, really quickly, we'll cover the TFSA. So the TFSA for today is basically neutral since most of our US stocks are inside the TFSA. Once again, I will talk about this a little bit later on in the video. The 1 week return for the TFSA is about 2%. So once again, nice little gain there. 1 month return is sitting about 2%. And then all time inside our TFSA, we do have a 9% return. So it is kind of like jumping up, and we can see a nice little rise here at the end. I don't know if you guys can see that here in the video, but a nice little jump up over the past like week or two, or even like month or so. Like we've seen some nice gains. And if I go 3 month return, we can actually see a 7% gain. So after the past 3 months, our TFSA has seen a 7% gain, which is about $6,566. So it does seem like the market is kind of trending upwards, even though everybody says whatever they say, right? That's kind of the way things seem to be going. The other account we're going to cover is going to be the personal account. That's the other account you guys seen on the main screen. This one's probably going to be on hold for now since we have our TFSA room opening up, as well as my fiance's TFSA room. We have tons of room to put into our accounts for this year, so that's going to be the main focus. Obviously, for me to primary focus on my own TFSA, and then once that one's maxed, we'll look at the fiance's TFSA, and she has tons of room, and then maybe I can start an RSP. So the personal account is going to kind of sit on the sidelines. This is more focused on Canadian stocks as well as Canadian dividends, so they can be very tax advantages there. I'm paying pretty much no taxes on the dividends, so that's super cool. But we have about $19,000. The 1 day return is about neutral. 1 week return inside the personal account is about $600, which is 3%. 1 month is 3%, 3 months is 6%, and then all time is kind of sitting at that 2%. So once again, this is more Canadian focused with the Canadian markets, and is generally trending upwards. And if we head on over to track my dividends, we can see our portfolio is basically all together at a glance. So once again, we'll go over this really quickly. $124,000, $605 in total. This is across me and my fiance's portfolios. We have a portfolio yield of about 3.39%. So it's kind of been rising up over time, and a lot of that is because we've been buying a lot of those covered call ETFs. I wanted to kind of bring up the yield a little bit. Our yield on cost is 3.43%, so we are seeing a gain on the yield on cost, and that's because the markets have kind of been rising. So that's helping that out. Annual income is about $4,220, and we'll kind of dive into the ones I didn't cover yet. So the ESSOP is from my employer. This one has not got updated yet, but I basically every single paycheck we put a little bit of money in, and we buy Loblaw stock, so that's kind of doing its own thing. It's a very small account, but it's kind of growing on its own. We covered the personal account already. My fiance's TFSA is pretty simple. She has 3 ETFs in there, HYLD, VDY, and VFE, so that's a mirror of the ETFs that I have. She likes to keep things simple, and I think that's pretty much it. So it's a quick little summary of all the accounts together, and we'll go inside the portfolio. I'll show you guys what stocks I kind of bought, what I'm focused on buying, and I'll give you guys an update on the dividends as well as the deposits I've made inside my portfolio. So the first thing I'll cover is going to be the deposits inside the portfolio for the past week or two, and then we'll look at the dividends, and then I'll show you guys what stocks I've been buying and whatnot. So if we look at the past week or so since January 3rd, I've been putting a lot of money into this portfolio. I've kind of held off investing towards the middle to the end of December, and also I did have some bills to pay. But now it looks like the beginning of the year, I do have a little bit of free cash, and this happens it's kind of a little bit lesson for you guys to learn, is that like there's going to be times in your life where you're going to have a little bit more free cash to invest, and there's going to be times in your life where things maybe, you know, there's some unexpected bills pop up, maybe different things happen and you just have less income coming in. That definitely happens to me, and January right now, it just kind of is coincidence that I actually have a little bit of free cash. So I'm going to basically been throwing as much as I can at my TFSA, and it works out perfect because, you know, we got that new contribution room. I have about $6,500 for contribution room plus a $5,000 that I withdraw from last year, so I have about $11,000 or so. So I'm gonna be pretty busy here, but we can see some pretty solid deposits, right? January 3rd we put in $600, January 5th $1,000. These are pretty big deposits for me. I normally don't put this much in my account, but like I said, I do have some free cash basically coming in, so I'm throwing it. I did sell a little bit of crypto as well, so I do have a little bit of extra money kind of thing, but I've just been throwing it all at the TFSA. January 6th we put $200, January 11th we put $150, and then on the 12th, which was yesterday, we put another $200, and I might put some more money in today. We'll kind of wait and see how things go, or maybe tomorrow or something like that. But we will look at the dividends because the dividends also help this as well. So in January 3rd was our first dividend from TELUS, and again, I did reinvest these dividends, so some of that money I reinvested is going to be dividends as well. But the deposits are separate, so take the deposits as well as these dividends, so you can see we're compounding and we're putting a lot of money back inside the portfolio. But that's the whole point of it, right? So some big dividends from VDY as well VFB. We got a big quarterly one, so VDY gave us $100 as well as our personal account. VFB gave us a nice big dividend of $200. That's the S&P 500. And then we have some covered calls here, which I think paid out yesterday on the 12th. The personal account we have here about $6, $17 from the personal account from HYLD. HDIV $3 from the TFSA, and then HYLD gave us another $30 inside the TFSA. So of course I think we have most of those dividends today that I can put inside the portfolio. So if we jump over and we'll just kind of top up the portfolio, and I'll show you guys what I've been doing. So I'll do a quick little recap. In the previous video I talked about my portfolio allocation and what I was kind of going for with my portfolio. One of the big things I'm kind of focusing on is bringing up the yield, as well as kind of maybe bringing down some of the US stock hold exposure inside my portfolio. If you look at the graph here on Blossom, you can actually see that I actually hold a lot of stocks in my in VFV. So I kind of want to bring it down just a slight little bit. I don't want to have a huge exposure. I kind of want to have a nice balanced portfolio, but I do definitely want to hold a lot in the US stocks. So that is a goal. But one of the big things for me is going to be kind of diversifying more in covered call ETFs, and kind of maybe some more dividend stocks as well, some more dividend growth companies from Canada. That's kind of one of the things I've been focusing as well. So kind of doing a balancing act here. I don't believe in selling stocks and kind of moving them around, especially not in the market right now. I want to wait and see, you know, if things are rising up and things are growing. I'm not going to, you know, sell a bunch of VFE if it's going to rise up over the next year. So I'd rather just keep it in there, hold it in there, let it compound and grow, and then kind of slowly work on the free cash I have putting in on some of the different areas I want to build up. I think that's a much better way to do things if you can, because then you're not selling at a loss. You know, you're not kind of, you know, I'm not selling the S&P 10% of my S&P 500, and then let's say 6 months from now it goes up 10%, you lose that. Kind of silly, right? So that's kind of the approach I'm doing here. So today we have about $34 inside the TFSA. Probably going to put, probably just buy some more covered calls. I'm kind of focusing on HYLD inside the TFSA, so it's tax free. We'll put that through here. That'll be about $24, and then we're going to go back inside the TFSA. We should have a couple bucks, and I might put that into a Canadian dividend growth fund. So I have been buying CNR, focusing on ATD. We could also buy, let's see here, and beside my TFSA, I don't have anything else. I do hold like Loblaw and stuff like that, so those are some big dividend growers as well. But I think we're going to put it in CNR. You know, I've been kind of building up my position of CNR. It's a great Canadian growth stock. It's more of a growth with dividend growth. It doesn't really have a big dividend yield, so it really is kind of a growth stock, I would say, for sure. So we'll put the rest of our money we have in there, the $9. I'm just going to stick that in there as a fractional buying, kind of top that off for the day. And then we'll head on over to the personal account. which is much more dividend focused, and we have some dividends here, about $21 to reinvest. Now we could put this in AQN. I have been buying a couple shares of AQN, and I'll do a quick little recap on my buys just a second here. So we could kind of trickle that into AQN. That actually might not be a bad idea. And in fact, on the topic of AQN, I'm just going to kind of type it in here. AQN did cut its dividend, as a lot of you guys probably would have guessed. I'm just going to look it up here really quickly. AQN, Algonquin Power, cuts dividend by 40%. So if the dividend is about, it was about 11%, it's probably sitting at about 5 or 6% right now. So that's a fairly decent cut, but it's still got a decent yield. So I'm just going to keep compounding those dividends, putting them back in. And I think right now, we go over the past week, Algonquin is down 5.88%. It did get a little bit of dip since the cut, but I still think, you know, I believe in the long-term value of the company. I think it makes sense to buy a couple shares here, but it's up to you guys on what you want to do. They don't have a fractional buy here, so I'm going to have to just put in 2 shares and then maybe put the rest into something else. So that's something you guys can do. We have about $4. I don't know, we can put $4. Let's put $4 in CNR inside the personal account, because why not? We'll put that in. But I do think if you do believe in the long-term value of AQN, it's worth throwing a couple bucks here and there. And on that topic, we will talk about the buys that I've been doing. So buys over the past little while, we'll get rid of the dividends here, and we'll just cover January, I guess, since that's mostly what I've been buying. I did kind of recap this in the last video, and you can see there's a lot of buys here, but it's because you get the little deposits inside your account on a regular basis. So lots of HYLD, lots of the covered calls. Once again, they don't represent a big chunk of the portfolio, so I'm obviously going to be buying to bring that up. Bought some VFE, but basically just kind of balancing things out. I want to get my portfolio up to the allocation like I talked about in the last video, that really shows you a nice balanced approach with everything. I did buy some ATD, a lot of ATD. Did, once again, I'm trickling AQN here, a couple shares of AQN here and there. Some of the other covered calls, again, but lots of focus on HYLD, some CNR, some AQN, a little bit of TD, some more AQN, just kind of trickling that in there, some more ATD, and so on and so forth, and the stuff I bought today. So once again, just bringing up some of the positions inside the portfolio. I do have the extra cash, so I might as well take advantage of it, and that's the main focus of basically the stocks I've been buying. And hopefully that kind of helps you guys out. If you guys have any questions on that, please let me know in the comment section of the video. In the last deep dive we're going to be doing in my portfolio in today's video is going to be using Wealthica. So Wealthica is a extension that you can hook up your Wealthsimple trade account. So this is really just my TFSA, my personal account. Unfortunately, I can't link multiple accounts, so it's not everything. It's not my fiance's portfolio. It's not my other small portfolio, but it is, like, I would say, like 80%, 90% of my portfolio, and it will give you guys a good idea of how my stocks have performed inside my Wealthsimple trade account. So some simple things here to kind of keep in mind here. So we have the ticker on the left side here. We have the book cost. This is a quantity, basically how much I have in dollar amounts. The quantity is how much stocks and the number of shares I hold. We have the average price here. We have the revenue, which is the dividends. So example, if we have VFE here and it says revenue here, this is the distributions I've received in total. And then we have the total gain here in a dollar amount and the total gain in a percentage amount here. And then on the right side, we have the stock appreciation or stock growth in a sense. So this is how much basically the stock price has gone up or down, and this is the percentage of that. So if you're interested in the stock price itself or stock appreciation, this is the last column on the left, on the right side here. But if you want the total gain, which is the more accurate number, this is the return you want right here. So this dollar amount right here and the total gain, and the percentage right here right next to it. These are the real numbers that I think we need to look forward to, because it really takes in the full return. And a lot of people don't understand this, especially beginner investors. I know there's a lot of new people watching the channel because of the new year and whatnot, and it's good for you guys if you are a beginner, but you have to take in the total return of an investment to decide whether to kind of analyze it or take everything in consideration. You can't just look at the stock growth of a company, especially if it's like a dividend yield stock or something like that. You're leaving out like one of the most important parts, right? So I don't know why people will do this, but like you really have to focus on the total gain. And part of the problem is like a lot of trackers and a lot of portfolio trackers and brokerages don't show the total gain. So that can be frustrating too. So anyways, we'll cover the total gain here and I'll show you guys the differences. So VFE, which is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, we have a total gain of about negative $400. Now the S&P 500 did go down quite a bit last year. We did see a pretty big drop here. I'm not going to go on here to see because we can't see the annual return, but if we just go the 1 year return, it is down quite a bit. I think at one point it was down like 17% last year. So that's a big that's responsible for a lot of the negative returns out of portfolio. So without dividends, we'd be down negative 2.63%, but with dividends, we're only down about 0.74%. So we're almost breaking even on that, and that's super cool. So there's still lots of room to grow with the S&P 500 in the recovery. So I think we're doing pretty good there. The second one, which is a pretty good example of how dividends and distributions can really compound and grow, is VDY. This is the Canadian High Dividend Yield ETF that I have. It pays monthly. With just stock growth, the ETF has performed quite well. The Canadian markets have kind of done a little bit better, I'd say, over the past year or two. We are up 10.82% in stock growth. So this fund does have a lot of growth. But if we factor in the distribution, which is $2,144 to date, that brings it up to 17.86%. So that's quite a big difference. You know, a lot of people would look at, oh, 10%, that's not very much. Well, slap on the distribution and you have a total return of about 18%. That's the next, it's $5,000, $443 instead of $3,000. So big difference there. You got to look into the total returns. And TD is a good example of a stock that kind of is going to be a growth stock as well as a dividend growth stock as well as a decent yield stock. This portfolio, if you guys don't know, I kind of started basically investing in 2020. So it's been about 2 years-ish or so. Just over 2 years, I guess, pretty much, more or less, that I've held these stocks. And even in that short amount of time, we've seen some nice, good growth here. So TD is a company I own. That I said is a good example of a company that pays a distribution. So we got $300. But it also has good stock growth as well. So 12% of stock growth, slap on that dividend yield, we have an 18% return. It's been pretty solid. So I'm pretty happy with that, especially, you know, the market's not being the greatest. I guess 2020 was an okay year in the end, but 2022 was really a crappy year in the markets overall. So all things considered, I'm pretty happy with the way that went. Next up we have is HYLD. This is a covered call ETFs. Very lot of controversy on these things. A lot of people don't understand how they work. Down 12% inside my portfolio in terms of stock growth, but with a distribution of $356.7, it's only down 6%. So again, if you're not going to factor in that 6% gain, you have to factor it in because it makes a big difference, right? If it went down to $0, if this went down to negative 6% in stock growth, right, that we would be sitting even, which is a huge difference. So once things grow, once we get that recovery in the year, like if the US markets do recover, we should see a nice little growth here, and then you have those dividends that can compound and regrow. And remember, we bought the stock with those high yields, right? Like HYLD I think had like a 13, I think it still has like a 13% yield. So not only do you get the growth, but you get that nice yield that gets locked in and keeps compounding, and you get that distribution. So you got to make sure, I understand that like a lot of those high yield funds aren't for everybody, but you got to understand how they work. And by saying they're a crappy investment or they're a scam, it's just not true. You guys got to be educated. So ATD is the next stock. Once again, really big growth stock, pretty much focused on growth. We can go down here. You guys can look at these if you want. AQN is going to be the highlight here that a lot of you guys are going to kind of probably, you know, look at. And I think everybody's portfolio more or less looks the same. Negative 43% in stock appreciation, but with the dividend, it is negative 38. It's not that, it doesn't make a big difference, but you know, over time, as I put more money in and I kind of build it up slowly, and then we do have that dividend yield reinvested, hopefully we can kind of bring it up, and then maybe in the next couple years, maybe not, the stock gets a nice jump up and we can kind of capitalize on that, or maybe it keeps sinking. I don't know. I don't think the company is going to like die off and it's going to go to nothing, but it might be a while before we see that kind of gain come back, and who knows, it might be a little bit of a gain, it might be a big one. We'll have to wait and see. But it's just kind of my 2 cents. I'm just kind of, like I mentioned before, dollar costing, averaging just a little bit here and there to kind of take advantage of those cheap shares, just in case, you know, to kind of help build up, you know, get rid of that negative, that ugly negative 38% inside my portfolio. Anyways, we go down here, we have CNR. Total return of about 13%. That's the I did buy some CNR today. It's my good solid Canadian growth stock. HDIV, which is the Canadian version of HYLD, currently sitting at a 7% total yield, so pretty solid. We've only held it for about a year. I think it's only been around for about a year and a half, so I consider that a pretty good return. Manulife up 14%, Fortis 7%. Power Corporation of Canada is down a little bit, but they had a pretty rough year. Severia Corp is up 1%, C&Q 14%, and then Canadian Tire about -2%. Once again, if you guys want to pause the video at any point in time, you can kind of take a peek at this stuff. And also, like I mentioned earlier, you guys can check on Blossom if you kind of want to see more of my portfolio in real time, if you'd rather do it that way. And I do realize at this point in time, this video is getting a little bit on the longer side, most likely if you guys are watching this. So we'll kind of wrap this up, and this wouldn't be a video or a weekly update without including the dividend income and all the growth the portfolio has had over time. So once again, to inspire you guys, especially you guys if you're newer to the channel, we started this portfolio in January of 2020, and every single year our dividend income, the only thing I'm really calculating here is the monthly income. I do want to get a better tracker eventually, but this is just a quick little spreadsheet I made where I have the month, the year, and then I put the monthly dividend income, and it's just for me to see how the portfolio has been growing over time. I like to track the dividends because it's something you 100% can control. You can kind of rely on it as long as you're investing in good quality companies on it growing over time. So once again, first year here was January 2020. You can see all the growth. January 2021, we can see a significant growth in dividend income. January 2022 kept growing and growing and growing. And about April 2022, I started including my fiance's dividend income. The black numbers here are my portfolio, and then the blue number is her portfolio. So it's we started adding them up together because we figured why not. And then things just kept growing. Now in January of 2023, which is this year, I have yet to include my fiance's portfolio. So I'm not too sure how much the dividend income would be. It might be like $50 or something. But we're currently sitting at $410 for the month of January. And once again, that's compounded back inside the portfolio. And we have total dividends about $5,144 since we first started the portfolio. So once again, you have to factor that in because it makes such a big difference. Why would you not? It's actual realized gain. It's money you've actually got paid inside your portfolio. It's 100% return. And here's a cool little graph that I made that's getting a little bit ridiculously long and ugly, but it gets the point across here. And we can see here in the beginning, this is the first month here, the months are on the bottom, and the dollar amounts on the left side here. We can just see consistent growth inside the portfolio. Some big jumps up here with the quarterly payments, as well as some big deposits I made around this time. But once again, we can see like on a monthly basis, on average, it's kind of trending upwards, and that's the whole point of the portfolio, and that's the whole point of dividend investing. So hopefully that kind of inspires you guys, gets you guys excited. And if once again have any questions about any of the stuff or anything I talked about in the video, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you guys as quickly as possible. I do apologize, I've been super busy lately. I'm still kind of not 100% in work mode yet. I'm still in holiday mode, so I'm slowly kind of transitioning back, but I'll try to get back to you guys as quickly as I can. And anyways guys, take care. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.